So today we're going to talk about registering your business in Ghana. Registering your business in Ghana is quite easy, but for a foreigner, there's a lot of requirements and it's very inconvenient for foreigners, honestly. They've made it so inconvenient that you might want to partner with a Ghanaian to avoid a lot of these headaches. And before I get into this video, I think one of the ways that Ghana can improve its economy is to kind of change the laws a bit for foreigners, especially black people and diasporans, right? People of color, really, to give them that incentive as far as like if you bring a certain amount of money to the country, I think you deserve to be a citizen within a short period of time and a whole bunch of stuff that they could do to incentivize people. Since the banking system sucks in Ghana, as I've been mentioning in most of my videos, that seems to not be the solution because to get loans out here is really hard. And the easiest way for us to actually climb up the ladder, as far as like Ghana, like the economy to be booming, it needs people like me. But luckily, I was born in Ghana, so my life is a lot easier. But if I were like a diaspora, it becomes extremely difficult. I remember I was just trying to register this company with a friend of mine who's a Black American, and I'm partnering with him. I'm a Ghanaian, and we are still going through a lot of crap. And it's a lot of money to register just because he's a foreigner and a whole bunch of stuff. So let's dive into it. I think Ghana could really change the trajectory of like the economic growth here if they give all these incentives to people of color. It will really spice things up, and I think they should really consider that. Really consider that. To be honest with you, so let's dive into it. If you're coming from America, I don't know much about UK, so I'm not going to jump into it, but I think it's very similar. But let's define registering a business to begin with, right? So in most countries, including Ghana, especially if you're using your name to do anything, you don't really have to register for sole proprietorship. Once you start doing business, you are automatically considered as sole proprietorship. You don't really need anything, right? You might want to have a different name other than your name, then you might want to register it for that purposes. But there is a lot of reasons why you might not want to be a sole proprietor. First of all, a sole proprietor means you're the only owner. You can't take in any investments, whatnot. It is going to be outside of it. They can be part of it. So that's why it's sole. So it's one person. So there is an inherent risk there with that. And then you are subject to unlimited liability. If you mess up, somebody takes you to court and they sue you, they're coming for everything you got. Everything that your name is on, they're coming for everything you got. That's why people go through the trouble to register a business and spend that money to be subject to limited liability. All limited liability companies, corporations and all these companies, LLC in the States, Ghana is LTD. If I register a company and I get sued for whatever reason, I did something stupid, or I did something I didn't think was stupid and it ended up being stupid, somebody taking me to court, and I registered a company. So in Ghana, that company will be your LTD Limited. LTD really serves as a corporation here because you get shares and all that stuff. I'll get into it later on. But big companies such as Malcolm and all of that are all LTD, right? Because it's very simple here. Whereas in the States, you have a whole bunch of stuff. You have S corporation, C corporation, a whole bunch of limitations and all that. But I'm not going to complicate this here. So you might want to register a company in Ghana. You are really looking for LTD because, you want to partner with other people, especially if you're a foreigner, because you might want to partner with Ghanaians to save you money and whatnot. So what do you need to register a company in Ghana? You need a tax identification number, which is your TIN. You need your Ghana card. If you're a Ghanaian, if you're a foreigner, you can still get a foreigner card. This is a Ghana card, a form of Ghana card, but it's going to show that you're a foreigner. And then you need your residence permit. If to be a resident here, you need a resident permit. And then you can start with the registration. But there is a lot of limitations for a foreigner. So first of all, to register a company, this happens at the Office of Registrar in Ghana. And for a Ghanaian, it's pretty straightforward. For limited, your LTD company that's limited, you need more than one person to register it. So you usually come with a partner. If not, you could bring somebody on, give that person 1%, or have an agreement to back it up. That person doesn't really own anything, but it's more than one person that you need for the limited. The company is limited by shares. So there are 4 types of registrations in Ghana, but let's not complicate things. What we have is companies limited by shares, companies limited by guarantees, right? So you can register the company and then have some agreement and have some guarantees outside for whatever reason to allow you to take loans for whatever reason. You don't want to do that. You want to go for companies limited by shares, keep it simple. and then unlimited liability company. I mentioned this earlier. Nobody wants to subject themselves to unlimited liability. They come in for everything you got in case you mess up in the business. You don't want to do that. You want to go for limited shares. So I'm going to focus on that because I don't want to give you guys any wrong advice here. And then you have external companies, which gets a little bit more complicated. Like, if you're involved with this international markets or whatnot. I'm not going to dive into that. What I'm really worried about is to educate you foreigners who are coming into the country to understand what you have to go through, how to set up your business or whatnot. So what do you do if you don't have a tax identification number? If you don't, there are people who do this really. They can help you get that, or through the registration, they can generate one for you. So it's not really a problem, but that's an additional cost on your part. But once you do the registration once, you're going to have your tax identification number. You can register multiple companies from there. For a foreign investor, you need to go one extra step and register with Ghana Investment Promotion Center, GIPC, right? And that is an additional cost. So how much I need to register a company is not the same for you. So registering a sole proprietorship, as I mentioned, you don't have to, especially if you're using the same name, like your government name to do the business. You really don't have to register. You can just open the doors and that's it. Pay your taxes, you're good to go. But if you're trying to go for a name which is different than your name, then you do have to register for the name recognition, to have it there, to back it up, to lock it up. So for a foreigner, unfortunately, you do not have the same incentives as a Ghanaian to register a company here. There's actually a lot of stuff that would turn you off as a foreigner, right? And I get it. They don't want, people like the Chinese and people from outside to come in and just, benefit from the country without the country getting anything in return. So I think Ghana did a brilliant job there, but I think they do have to kind of loosen it up a little bit for Black people. If you're trying to register a company, you have no Ghanaian owners in it. You need $500,000 USD cash to come and do that business. That's for a foreign investor. If you are trying to bring a Ghanaian on board, then your situation is different. You need a minimum of $200,000 to start a business if you're trying to give a Ghanaian a percentage. And that percentage has to be 10% or more. And then you need $200,000 cash. If you are trying to trade, right? If you're trying to buy and sell and trading, bringing stuff in, then you need $1 million minimum. You need to employ at least 20 skilled Ghanaians. There are exceptions to the rule, right? I'm talking, this is legally. If you're trying to register a company, operate, do everything by the book, this is what you got to go through as a foreigner. And I think it is not fair. I get why you would want to do that to people like the Chinese and, try to let them bring more money to the country and also benefit Ghanaians. I get where they're coming from, but it is a turnoff for people with not a lot of money, like all these Black Americans and Jamaicans and our fellow brothers who are trying to move into the country. They are not rich and they're trying to start something. They should make life a little easier for them. If you're a person of color, you move into the country, I think within a year you should have a citizenship or something like that. Make your life easier. I think so. I think it will help us out greatly. It's not like we have crazy population here. Our population is definitely less than 40 million in Ghana. And we need a lot of people. We need high population. We definitely need that. And also we need the money that's coming in. Even if it's $20,000, it goes a long way in Ghana, trust me. So to be exempted from this minimum requirements that I just mentioned, you need $500,000 if you're trying to register a company as a foreign investor, trying to register everything by yourself. I don't want any Ghanaians. I just want to come in, do my own thing. You need $500,000 cash to do it by yourself. If you're trying to partner with a Ghanaian, you're giving them 10% or more, then you need a minimum of $200,000. However, if you are trying to, dive into trade and all that, that's a whole different ball game, and you need about $1 million. There are always exceptions to the rule, right? I learned this in the tax class. There's always exceptions to the rule. So let's look at the exceptions, and that's basically your loophole, and that's what you are looking at. There's always a loophole in every system, and America taught me that. Exception to the rule. So you will be exempted from all of this, right? If you're a guy like Blue Skies guy, he exports a lot of stuff from Ghana. So if you are involved in exports, right, the more Ghana exports stuff out, it helps us with our currency exchange. So how a currency depreciates is if we import a lot of stuff and then also printing a lot of money. The combination of two is what leads to the depreciation of currency. So if you're a foreign investor and you come in and you are doing stuff in Ghana and you are exporting it out, of course, it puts Ghana on the map and it helps us with it helps it helps us with our currency being strong, right? Right, because now we exporting stuff out, we're bringing money into the country. We're not putting too much pressure on our currency, trying to change it to trade in dollars because all trades are happening in dollars now. BRICS is trying to break that, but it helps with the inflation, and God knows that Ghana can use some decrease in inflation. So they respect that. If you are trying to do stuff here in Ghana and then export it out, you have that advantage, and you do not have to go with any of this. You don't need all these rules. You're exempted from it. That's a loophole for you. Trying to do something, export it out. So you might want to wrap your business around something like this to avoid that. Portfolio investor, right? So if you're a portfolio investor, which means you're not actively doing stuff in Ghana, you want to invest in this, real estate, like my company, I'm doing the project. You like Rush, I think I really believe in you. I've been following for a while. I don't want to be on ground. I don't want to do a lot of stuff, but I'll invest in your company portfolio. You hold a whole bunch of stuff, but you're not actively doing too much. You just basically you are an investor in Ghana. You are helping the economy in that sense. It makes sense. You are exempt from this rule. You do not need that crazy amount in order to do that. Another exception to the rule is if you come and find yourself a beautiful Ghanaian queen and you marry her for 5 years, then obviously you become a citizen, I think. So basically, the secret is to become a citizen, because when you're married to a Ghanaian for 5 years, you could apply for this and can become a citizen, and the rules will not be applied to you. People have a whole bunch of loopholes that's not legal, and I'm not going to give that advice because this is public record and I want to have my peace of mind. So I'm not going to give you the black market way of doing things. So there you have it. If you're a foreigner, unfortunately, you do have to go through a lot, but there are always loopholes. There are always exceptions to the rule. And you just got to know that. Go through the back door. I call it the third door, right? The front door always has a lot of problems, but there's always another door in the back where people are taking, and it's much shorter, less stress. And you might want to take that. If you're not subscribed to the channel already, kindly do so. Like this video as it helps to the algorithm. Comment and let me know what you think. And until next time, my friends, be legendary. Peace.